Breaking today, Prince Harry's rumoured peace summit with King Charles has plunged into chaos. This from Shooter Scoop. So much for a royal reunion. The highly anticipated peace summit between King Charles and Prince Harry has collapsed before it even began, with insiders saying the father and son can't even agree on a calendar entry. The whole thing is a mess, one palace insider sighs to Shooter Scoop. They can't settle on a schedule, they can't agree on a location, and they don't even have an agenda. Every point turns into a fight. Charles wanted a low-key sit-down at Windsor Castle or Clarence House. Harry's camp pushed for a neutral space far from palace walls. What started as a venue spat spiraled into timing battles. Harry wanted flexibility. The king wanted it slotted into his diary down to the minute, dishes royal aid. Neither side will give an inch. Even the conversation topics became a war. Charles's team insists the focus should be on moving forward, while Harry demands unresolved grievances be addressed first. It's gridlock, says a source. They can't even agree on why they're meeting, with Prince William already dismissing the idea as a terrible plan. Courtiers fear this latest failure could end hopes of reconciliation altogether. If this collapses, the door may slam shut for good, warns one royal watcher. Right now, one palace insider admits it's not peace talks, it's war over the calendar. Brittany from the Royal News Network with me. Brittany, come on. I mean, Charles has to realise now, it's just not worth it. This is just not worth it. Listen to William's sound advice. Listen to Queen Camilla's very deep concerns. I don't want him to do this, Brittany. I don't think it's a good idea.
Well, this event is supposed to happen. Harry needs to realize that he is the party that needs to bend the knee. I
Yeah.
think Harry's ego and pride are so extreme at this point because, again, if he has to admit fault, he has to look into the person he let into his life and has become the closest to him. He shares children with, that she is responsible for a lot of the grief in his life, and that was his choice. That's a tough pill to swallow. And Harry, of course, once again, is deflecting. And it makes perfect sense for it to be slotted into Charles's very, very busy schedule to the minute. Harry has the flexibility, Charles doesn't. And so Harry seems to be, at least to me, he's self-sabotaging if this is the case. He doesn't really want the meeting unless it can be on his terms. And that's just not going to be possible. His father has all the power in this scenario, and there's just not a future for Harry in the royal family as a working royal by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, William will definitely see to that. Again, I always say I'm for a personal father-son reconciliation just in the personal context. I think that would be good for both sides, but Harry must admit fault. He has not done that yet. He must admit the vast majority of the strife that he's put on his father, his brothers, his family's life is something that he brought to them, not something that they allegedly did to Harry.
But I just don't think he has that in him, Brittany. Do you? I mean, look, if you look at the whole path to this meeting, it's first leaked to the Mail on Sunday via Charlotte Griffiths, who has become the propagandist, the person who Harry's friends leak to, like the new Omid Scobie. And that was a quiet conversation between Tobin Andre, the communications secretary for the king, and Meghan and Harry's new team. But of course, the details were first leaked via Harry's team to the Mail on Sunday. Then all of the speculation continues. Then I feel like he's tried to jump the king into a meeting by leaking the fact that the meeting is definitely happening to the Daily Mirror. Why do that? Like, seriously, why do that? Unless you're trying to arm twist, pile pressure on the king, who probably at that point had remained non-committal. And then this week, we've had more from the American media about, all of Harry's demands and the discontent and the fact that, he still believes Meghan must be treated as an HRH and family members should be showing her the formal respect of bows and curtsies. It's like, are you mad? If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today.
Well, I think some other reporting definitely is just complete BS. I don't know where it's coming from or who thinks they're spinning Harry a good tale there. But the whole thing is just an epic disaster at this point. And Harry is the guilty party here. And he just can't totally accept that because again, if he accepts that he's the guilty party and he did a lot of his behavior was to help somebody else, in this case his wife, then he has to look to her and realize maybe some of the machinations and the deceit that she basically manipulated him into doing particular things. Yes, those were always part of his behavior, but he got into a situation where he made some really catastrophically dumb decisions, in my opinion, and he has to live with the consequences of that. And he just can't seem to do that yet. And until he does, I say, don't talk to the man. He needs to own up to his mistakes rather than just going and making all sorts of demands. Because this is part of the problem. Harry keeps making demands on things he can't make demands on. Charles can't give him full state security or whatever the heck Harry wants. That's just not possible at all. And Harry needs to recognize, too, if he wants his children to have a relationship with his father, that he needs to make decisions to make that happen. He needs to start making the steps. But until Harry does a little bit of introspection here, I think we're just going to be at a stalemate because Harry has to live in his ego, his bitterness, his pride, and whatever, because that's a great shield for him to avoid all the catastrophic mistakes he's made in his life.
Brittany, of course, there's another fly in the ointment when it comes to this meeting. The death of the Duchess of Kent at 92. We've seen, and you can see actually in this image here, the flag being lowered to half-mast above Buckingham Palace. That's the formal announcement being put on the gates of Buckingham Palace. And there has been confirmation from the palace today, Brittany, that the official mourning period does continue until after the funeral. Now, okay, it's not a public engagement, a meeting between Charles and Harry. But do you think such a significant meeting that would receive so many headlines would be seen by Charles to be appropriate during a period of royal mourning?
Yes, given the death of the Duchess of Kent, Dan, I think that if there was ever a meeting in the offing, and we don't really have solid confirmation, I would say from strong sources that it was, I think this is Charles' excuse to say basically, no, you know what, we're a family, we are mourning a member of our family, and Harry is just a thorn in everybody's side. Like, why do you even want the man there? He's just going to raise ruckus and be disruptive. And this is a moment to remember the long life and long royal career of the Duchess of Kent and recognize her family. And I think Charles, in this instance, would, I think, fully agree with that. So I
And
think we will
here's the
see a
statement,
period of
by the way,
mourning.
Brittany. Sorry to interrupt, but we're just looking at the
Yeah.
statement from William and Catherine. I just wonder, will we expect to hear from Harry?
Mm. Yeah, that would be really interesting because I don't know how much interaction he had with the Duchess of Kent. I don't know if that was something that he considered or not. But like Harry needs to stop the sort of cosplay royal routine. I think if Harry was to make any statement, it should be a private condolence to the Kent family and to his father and maybe his brother and sister-in-law. I don't think there should be any public declaration because part of the problem for Harry is I think he's constantly so consumed with his negative PR. He wants to make every, sort of gesture he does public. That's very much something he's taken from his wife and that just backfires every time. The best thing is if he's going to make any inroads here, just to do it silently, just do it privately, no public announcement of the quote unquote private move, which he tends to do, because he's not a working royal anymore. He's a cosplay royal, and the more he does the cosplay royal routine, the more annoying it becomes. So he
Yeah,
just needs to accept his lot in life.
indeed. Indeed. But Brittany, the problem is things are starting to collapse with all of his other ventures. So we've seen what's happened with Centre Bali. We've seen what's happened with African Parks. Now Richard Eden reporting rumblings that we have actually covered previously here on the show, especially from Angela Levin, about how Harry could be forced to quit Invictus because of the divisive issue, rumblings of discontent. Let me show you Richard Eden's reporting, Brittany, before I get your reaction. He writes, I hear increasing rumblings of discontent about Prince Harry's role as patron of the Invictus Games, the international sports event he founded with his brother and sister-in-law, the Prince and Princess of Wales, to help wounded, injured, and sick military service personnel. A source close to the Invictus Games Foundation tells me there is concern that Harry is no longer the help to the charity that he once was. The Duke has become an increasingly divisive figure, particularly in the armed forces, the source says, and that is not good for Invictus. We are all about bringing people together and inspiring those who have suffered hardship. Now Invictus is firmly established, it might be better if the Duke took a step back. Wow. Richard goes on to say the issue is particularly sensitive because the next Invictus Games is due to be held in this country, in Birmingham, in 2027. It is worrying that such a worthy event seems to be used for public relations purposes, says the source. Normally, senior members of the royal family would want to attend. It goes without saying that they support the forces to the hilt, so it would be unfortunate if they felt unable because of Harry's presence. A royal source tells me if Harry were to resign as patron of Invictus, I'm sure they would have no trouble finding a new royal patron. And Richard Eden writes that last week he disclosed that one of the Duke's closest and most prominent supporters, J.J. Chalmers, the Royal Marine Reservist, turned broadcaster and Invictus Games gold medalist, had stood down as a trustee of the charity after just 2 years. Now, Brittany, this is fascinating because this reporting now getting into the mainstream media. But come on, there have been issues in Invictus for such a long time. I mean, I was reporting very closely on what went on in the event in Whistler, Canada earlier this year. And there was absolute fury from behind the scenes at Invictus that the entire games had been hijacked by Meghan Markle specifically wanting to change the public conversation about her relationship, totally stealing the thunder from the athletes, all of this, the PDAs, everything. And it was to the point, Brittany, where my reporting and my belief remains to this day that she was actually sent home early and was very, very unhappy about it given the timing. But I mean, for Harry to be in trouble with Invictus, I mean, this is like the final straw. He has nothing left charity-wise that's working.
Yes, and he clings desperately to Invictus to the point that I personally think that he sort of almost absorbs some of the stories he hears as his own. And I think it inflames his sense of what his military service was in some ways that he thinks he did more than just sit in a bunker the vast majority of the time. But I think the problems for Invictus are just there. Harry is 100% a divisive figure. People will not attend because Harry is there and Harry is supporting it. That's 100% going to be the case. And what we see from Invictus, I personally think, and then again, I don't have the hard numbers here, is that Invictus pays a whole lot of money to get musical acts and those sorts of things for the opening and closing ceremonies so they can fill the stadium. But a lot of those spectators do not show up to the individual events. I think they're having a hard time getting the individual events filled. And I think these games just become about Harry and Meghan. And for Invictus to survive, they really need to be out of the picture because they don't benefit it. Yes, you get some noise, but it's only about the two of them. If you actually go into Getty Images and look for pictures of the Invictus Games, like 60-70% are just of Harry and Meghan. You hardly hear anything about the athletes, their successes, their failures, their stories, their traumas, the things they've experienced. You don't hear anything about them because it's so absorbed in Harry and Meghan. And without Harry and Meghan, I think you would actually get a much stronger Invictus Games. And so I think to get Harry out, I think is a smart move. It's the only move, really, because Harry is not helping the games at all at this point.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's not. And unfortunately, Brittany, this is such an episode in I Told You So, because so much of Harry's charity work was being protected, Brittany, by the royal family who he has in recent years chosen to turn on. But they were doing the work. They were protecting him. They were protecting the reputation of the royal family. And unfortunately, he has proven that as a lone wolf, as a lone ranger, it's just not going to work. I mean, he still hasn't spoken publicly about the scandal involving African parks, for example. I believe his explanation in regards to Santa Bali is totally inappropriate, and it does not deal with the very important issues raised by Dr. Sophie Chandoka. And of course, that story is ongoing. So for Invictus, this is potentially a hammer blow to Harry's reputation, because what I found so interesting, Brittany, is his immediate reaction. This shows you just what a little boy he is right now. It's all about him, and it's always been all about him, and he throws his toys out of the cot. And then in the past, Brittany, it would be the courtiers, and it would be Charles, and to a greater extent, probably William, who would calm him down. But with Santa Bali, he's just like, well, I'm going to do another charity. I'm just going to do another charity. I'm going to do a rival charity. The problem is, Brittany, no one wants to be involved with him. Who's going to fund it? Who's going to sign up to be on the board? You know, the fact is, one of the main board members who has gone in on Santa Bali is one of Prince William's closest allies, because he cares passionately about saving this project, because it should be so much more than the egos of Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and yes, even Dr. Sophie Chandoka. But so the idea, I guess, that I'm saying, Brittany, that he can just snap his fingers and launch some other charity project is for the birds. What he should have been doing for the past 5 years is nurturing his existing charities, his existing relationships with the charities, putting in the proper groundwork. But he hasn't done that. He's been lazy, he's been reckless, he's been ego-driven, and unfortunately, I think this could be the end of his career as a major force in the world of philanthropy.
Well, if you think about it, part of the problem Santa Bali was having is that they couldn't fundraise. And even with Harry and Dr. Sophie there, they really couldn't raise any money. And so this whole idea that Harry is, I think, a benefit to Invictus is sort of wrong. I think Invictus would be much better served to not only maybe have a royal on board, they don't have to, but they could, but also just really focus on the athletes and make one of them a stronger spokesperson for the event. This thing is just sort of falling apart. I think they wildly overspend, and then other countries, in this case the UK and maybe the city of Birmingham, will have to donate a lot of money to put the games on. And my question is, why? Why aren't the games self-sufficient? But Harry, throughout this whole process, it's him, me. This is why he has to be the center of like everything, and why he's not good at raising the voices of other people who are actually the competitors. Even Heart of Invictus, which could have been great. It was actually their best documentary, in my opinion, even though it was the worst reviewed, in part because I think it started off with Harry. Harry, nobody cares. Like, you need to focus on the people this project is supposed to serve. And Harry is too self obsessed, too narcissistic to actually be a benefit to any charity at this point.
Yeah, indeed. Brittany, can we speak about Meghan's week? Because Maureen Callahan has this take that she's not as liked in Montecito as she has tried to make out in the Bloomberg interview. But first, the number one worst fruit for your waistline. Look, are you turning healthy fruits into highly unhealthy fruits without even realizing it? Fruit can be one of the healthiest things you can put into your body. But the majority of Americans are guilty of making this single mistake that can counteract all of the health benefits of fruit. Some fruits can help with occasional constipation, reduce bloating, and even help burn calories. Others can wreak havoc on your digestive system and energy levels. Now, I came across this viral presentation from world-renowned heart surgeon Dr. Stephen Gundry that showcases the 3 fruits to stop eating today. It was shocking. I had no idea. And after finding it out, I've stopped eating these 2. I'm going to put a link for you all to watch it because I want you all to gain this information. I think it's truly important, actually. You can go watch it right now at thehealthyfat.com/outspoken. That's thehealthyfat.com/outspoken. I've also linked it in the description box below this video too, or if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, you can just click on the QR code on screen or hold up your phone, to the QR code. You know how it works. Oh, and by the way, eliminating these fruits could forever change the way we help increase energy levels, decrease brain fog, support digestion, and even lose weight. So make sure to click on the link below or go to thehealthyfat.com/outspoken to find out now. Dr. Gundry has lost 70 pounds himself using his research and has kept the weight off for over 20 years and counting. His digestive issues are gone. His health is fantastic. He feels younger today than he did in his 40s. His video has been watched by over 20 million people to date. You can watch and learn more about it at thehealthyfat.com/outspoken. Just click on the link in the description box below this video. But now, back to the show.
She also let slip that the other mothers hate her. Oh, other mothers gossip. They gossip. I'm sure Meghan has done nothing to endear herself at the local PTA.
And Brittany, that was a fascinating line, I thought, from the Bloomberg interview, and very unwise, actually, very unwise, because what it was doing is it was trying to put a real divide between Meghan and the other school mums. And we know she has that arrogance to her. Of course she does. But it's just, again, in stark contrast to Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who does so much behind the scenes, Brittany, to be the most hands-on mum at her kids' school. She goes to every single sports event, every single school fair. She's always picking the kids up, although obviously William did it more recently when she's been going through her treatment. But they make such an effort in the local school community to be seen as equals. And I think it's been such a lovely thing for them and for their children. And then you've got the contrast of Meghan sort of going on the Bloomberg interview and sort of calling out the Montecito mums as bitchy. I mean, I thought Maureen Callahan just picked up that moment so perfectly.
Yeah, I wish I had focused a bit more on that as well, Dan, because she's 100% right. Meghan, I mean, I definitely noticed it and like sort of bookmarked it, but I didn't really go into it. Just basically saying that, and if you think about it, it's even more revealing of the fact that Meghan can't get along with people. These are women who I think would welcome her and see a different side of her because they have this personal interaction. But even they don't like her, which I feel like says so much. And I think there was even a bit where it almost sounded like in order to get other kids to come to their house, they had to create some sort of like fair, some sort of something to get people to come. And I think it's because people don't like her. Meghan is a person who can only attract like personalities. And so all of her friends are grifters, and so is she. And I think most people in Montecito aren't impressed. We've heard this like multiple times. People in Montecito are just not impressed with her, and they don't see her. She doesn't interact. I mean, she could go to the grocery store. She chooses not to go to the grocery store. She's not prevented. She chooses not to go, and then complains that, oh, would go every day if I could go unnoticed. It's like, if you think people are noticing you in the grocery store, I mean, most people have their headphones in. They have better things to do than talk to Meghan Markle. So I think Meghan is disliked within the school, I think within the community, and she's done that to herself. She has a very divisive personality, and she is not super kind. And so am I surprised the other moms picked up on that? No, and she's done nothing, I think, to dissuade them from the headlines they've seen. And that's because the headlines are real, and that's what Meghan can't face, is that a lot of the headlines, yes, some things are made up, but a lot of it is real and truthful, and Meghan can't stand that.
Brittany, this whole shop my exercise seems to represent the trouble that Meghan is in commercially. The story which you'd been across for a very long time went mainstream this week, with The Sun reporting Meghan Markle has quietly shut down her online store, flogging a bizarre hand-picked collection of clothes for cash. She closed the Shop My storefront, where she'd been flogging everything from £20 grey tees to £1,600 silk gowns, perfect for Perfect for chicken feeding. Shopmire, a platform for top creators, lets users earn affiliate cash from recommending products. The fashion-conscious Duchess set up a shop back in March, and the banner on her profile previously read, "A hand-picked and curated collection of the things I love. I hope you enjoy them." But now her profile has vanished from the page, completely blank. Now, at this point, Brittany, if there was any desire not to shut down the Shopmire, surely there would have been pushback.
Hmm. Yes. And when it comes to Shopmire, like I have one for Royal Fashion News. So I was actually one of the first people to really catch that she wasn't updating it and did a whole video on her basically shutting it down. And when it comes to Shopmire, like it takes time to figure out what works. Even for me, it took time to figure out what works. I share royal fashion pieces, sometimes some of my own stuff I use, but it's mostly focusing on royal outfits and figuring out how to highlight them to people in unique and interesting ways. And Meghan just did not take the time. She was too lazy. And I think she really thought that if she put on an outfit that cost $5,000, that people would be clamoring to buy it. When it turns out that's not the case, what she should have done is either she needed to get cheaper clothes so that more people could buy them, or she needed to point out and highlight, let's say, alternatives. And so I think the whole Meghan effect, Meghan thought she could really make the Meghan effect pay her. That's the thing. Even if the Meghan effect I think is quite small, she really wanted it to pay her. But nobody wants to support somebody in a $16 million mansion with her like making money from her clothes. I mean, it was just crass in the first place, and she could have managed it much better, and it might have been successful, but again, she's too lazy. She just wants her name to sell things, and everything takes a level of work. Even something like Shopmire takes a while to find royal fashion and put it up on the site. It's not necessarily a super easy thing to do. So I think Meghan just gave up too easily, but that's her. It's again another sign of a Meghan that doesn't stick with things, that doesn't figure out how to innovate things, and would just post like a collage of things you should buy for Easter and not actually showing her doing any Easter things or using any of the products she's trying to shill. And that just doesn't work. We're savvy consumers. And so, yeah, it just didn't work for Meghan. And not surprised she had to shut it down.
But Brittany,
She
where does this leave her? I mean, it's like if you can't even run a Shopmire, if she doesn't even have have enough influence, have enough fans, have enough supporters to make money through affiliate links, the Netflix catastrophe has to end. Certainly the With Love chapter, I think, of Netflix is going to come to an end
dead.
after the Christmas special.
I agree.
Because, it's just been a disaster. As ever, we just have no idea of the true figures involved. She refused to tell Bloomberg and Emily Chang in that interview. But where does this leave her?
I mean, not very good, because I mean, even thinking this last As Ever launch, pretty much anytime she had a launch with As Ever, at least 2 times, maybe a couple more, she immediately runs to a news outlet. Like I think one time it was In Style, recently it's been Harper's Bazaar, to claim how successful things are. She didn't do that this time. I think in part because things are not selling out and they're not as successful. Because I was thinking about this last night. When it comes to Meghan's crop of products, I think people were anticipating more. Like her second launch, oh, it would be more things, and it's just the same things, and she's changing out the spread because she thinks it's her hero product, which basically means it's a product that's going to float the entire brand is spread. Very dumb idea. And she's done the same thing now 3 times. And people are just getting more and more uninterested because she can't innovate. She can't expand fast enough. And not that I think there's a huge market there, but if she was a savvy businesswoman, which she clearly is not, she could have been much further down the line here. But she's lazy. She is constantly claiming success without achieving it. And when it comes to the Shopmire, that was almost in some ways her lowest hanging fruit, and she couldn't even do that. And so I think As Ever is already failing. She's already had to downgrade. Instead of having the seal of the brand or the logo of the brand on the top of the lids for her spreads, she's taken that off now, which means she's cheapening down her products to keep them cheaper and those sorts of things, which, you want to upgrade your products, not downgrade them. So it all just is looking really bad and really sideways. And she sort of did everything all at once. And of course, it blew up in her face because she doesn't let her team, who I think she hires competent people, do the job that they're supposed to do. She wants to do everything. And when Meghan's leading, it's just going to be a disaster.
Very good analysis, Brittany. And of course, you mention your fashion page, and some people might not know that. So, as well as the Royal News Network on YouTube, Brittany has Royal Fashion News, where she focuses specifically on all that stuff that I'm not good at, you know, the tiaras, the gowns, the dresses, the forward. So it's very much worth subscribing to that, as well as the Royal News Network. But Brittany, always love having you here. We are going to speak next week, so I really look forward to that. And of course, if you do want first access to the Royal Uncancelled After Show on Substack, where you get all of our content actually every day, twice the length of what we've just done, Monday to Friday, you get it first, live or on demand with no advertising whatsoever. Just sign up at www.outspoken.live. Substack's a really important platform for me because it's free speech focused. It protects me from big tech cancellation and lawfare. So I'd love you to be part of the community. You can message me directly on there, honestly. It's a really great platform. And I'd love you to be part of our Outspoken community there. Nearly 50,000 of us. www.outspoken.live is the address. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.